Hello everyone and welcome back to another must-see chess game by Emanuel Lasker. And in this chess game, his opponent is John Elwell. And this was from a chess simul, a 15-board chess simul from 1893 from New York, United States, from the famous tour of Lasker in the United States. So he played in many chess simuls and he was always victorious most of the time. So let's see what happened in this chess game. This is also a pretty interactive chess game by Emanuel Lasker, the second official world chess champion. So Lasker starts the game with pushing the e-pawn, knight to c6. Well, we usually see the Caro-Kann defense, the French defense, the Sicilian defense, e4, e5. But what is this? This is the Nimzowitsch defense, which is actually not a nonsense opening against e4. So this is actually playable. And in this position, actually there are many possibilities. So Lasker pushed the d-pawn and black played unusual e5. But of course you have to play sensible. d5 is the correct move. And after capturing the pawn, queen takes on d5. And this is the Scandinavian variation of the Nimzovich defense. So this is also a possible line in the Nimzovich defense. After knight to f3, knight to f6, it looks like the Scandinavian defense, but black is pretty good in the development. So in this position, e5 is also a possibility. Then knight to h6, according to the computer chess engine, actually this move is not that bad, because this is going to open the g file and black is going to target white's king side from this open g file. So this is also possible. Bishop to f5, even though it looks like a ridiculous move, but white gave up his bishop for the knight and black opened the g file and how to capture this pawn. So it's not that easy, and actually black is solid. Believe it or not, but I actually win many games with this opening, with playing knight to h6, but of course you need to study this very deeply. So you need to have a very deep theory for playing this. Okay, so Nimzovich defense is not a nonsense opening. It's actually pretty strong and there are many other different variations. And I'm sure there are also many different chess lectures which tells you how to play the Nimzovich defense. So I'm only showing this. Okay, so e5 by John Elwell. And in this position, Emanuel Lasker didn't play the best move. He actually captured the pawn. Maybe he was also unfamiliar in this territory. Actually pushing the d-pawn is by far the best move. Knight goes back, knight to c3, and you can see that white is much better. But this is also not like losing on the spot. So Lasker simply captured the pawn. He is opening the game. Knight takes on e5, pushing the pawn, knight goes back. Knight to f3 by Lasker, developing the bishop. It looks like there are some problems in the dark squares, but Lasker pushed the pawn and here comes knight to h4 by John Elwell. Well, in this position, how to develop the light square bishop? If capturing the knight, then queen takes knight, check, and that doesn't look very good, isn't it? So that's also attacking the e-pawn. What now? Well, Emanuel Lasker made a big decision and he sacrificed the g-pawn, but interestingly black didn't capture the pawn. Sometimes the most obvious move is the best move. So in this position, actually white is doing a very good job. In this position, if knight takes on g2, then king to f1, defending knight to e3, forking king and the queen, capturing, knight to c3, black is a pawn up. But on the other hand, as you can see, white has a massive development, but the king is looking a little bit unsafe. But on the other hand, we have pluses and minuses, so white is actually doing pretty well in this position, even though white is a pawn down, and against Emanuel Lasker, maybe this could be dangerous. So Maybe Elwell thought that capturing the pawn is going to be dangerous for him, as it is going to give white a very strong development chances, so Emanuel Lasker simply captured the knight. d6, bishop to e3, exchanging, and knight to f6, developing the knight, queen to e7, and in this position Lasker made another big decision and he castled from the queen side, allowing bishop takes on f5, and this pawn is pinned. Now black is a pawn up, so if capturing the bishop, queen takes queen. Rook from h to f1, bishop goes back. If capturing the bishop, in this position, if capturing the pawn, then rook from f to e1 and this bishop is pinned, and this is actually losing a piece for black. Of course, in this position, capturing the bishop is impossible because that's losing the queen, as I mentioned. So Lasker played rook from h to f1, bishop goes back defending the bishop, and black is a pawn up. Now Lasker is harassing the king from the king side, so black castled from the king side, and Lasker is simply going to push his pawns in the king side. Knight to d7, planning to play knight to e5, g4, knight to e5, defending f6, and Lasker's pawns are storming into black's territory. So h6, rook to g1, rook to f8, rook up, pawn up, rook over, and Lasker is creating a battery in the g-file, a cannon, ready to fire on the g-file. This is Alehin's gun before Alexander Alehin. Pushing the pawn, so black wants to push the c-pawn. This is why supporting the b-pawn, knight to d1, and Lasker is relocating his knight. c5, knight to e3, pushing the pawn. Actually, right now, believe it or not, but black is doing pretty well. But on the other hand, black has to defend accurately against Emanuel Lasker's attack from the g-file. Knight to d5, defending the queen, and now maybe defending the bishop comes to mind. What would you do? Well, Emanuel Lasker didn't defend the bishop, he is going all the way, not wasting any time, pushing the pawn. g5, what a move by Lasker. f takes on g5. If capturing the bishop, this is a possibility, then g takes on h6. Let's say capturing the pawn, then h5. And this is losing actually for black. But in this position, there are actually better moves than h5. Maybe queen to f4, slowly developing, slowly improving the position is actually pretty good for white. So this is a pretty good position. So knight can also go back, knight to f4, attacking the bishop is pinned. So this is dangerous. Black felt that. So black captured the pawn. H takes on g5, c takes on d3, finally capturing the bishop, but Lasker simply opens up the g-file. Rook attacks the queen, queen goes back, and placing the queen on the h-file. Rook to c8. Lasker captured the pawn and queen is ready to attack the king. It looks very unsafe, especially against Emanuel Lasker. King takes on g7 and c3. Lasker is defending, so Lasker is a piece down. But he has the attack. Look at the king. The king is terribly unsafe. The king's safety is compromised, so defending is not easy for black. On the other hand, even though Lasker is a piece down, his king is looking safe. Rook up. Lasker didn't capture the rook because his knight is actually a monster knight, controlling very important key squares on d5. So we have rook to h1 targeting the king. And this is a fatal mistake, playing a nonsense move. Black doesn't have any good moves. Emanuel Lasker is smashing in. Rook takes on g6. What an exciting chess game. Knight takes on g6, checking the king. What else? King to f8, capturing the knight, and there is no sensible defense. That's all she wrote. Black resigned. The possible continuation, some random move, rook to h8. Actually, there is no sensible defense, against rook to h8, checkmate. How Lasker simply destroyed the pawn cover in front of black king, sacrificed his piece, and then finally checkmated his opponent. A perfect chess game, not perfect maybe, there were some flaws against the Nimzovich defense, but he has managed to defeat his opponent very nicely. A very nice chess game by Emanuel Lasker. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Take care and bye bye.